At first, I didn't notice anything out of the ordinary. I mean, why would I? It was just another night like any other, or so I thought. But then I heard it. The faint sound of footsteps echoing in the darkness behind me. You know that feeling when you're walking alone at night and you can't shake the sensation that someone's following you? It's like a chill creeping up your spine, a whisper of unease that sends your heart racing. Well, I've been living that nightmare for the past few weeks, and let me tell you, it's no picnic. It all started innocently enough. I was walking home from work one evening, taking my usual route through the quiet streets of my neighborhood. The sun had already dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows across the pavement, and the air was heavy with the promise of rain. At first, I didn't notice anything out of the ordinary. I mean, why would I? It was just another night like any other, or so I thought. But then I heard it. The faint sound of footsteps echoing in the darkness behind me. I turned, expecting to see a fellow pedestrian making their way home just like me. But there was no one there, just an empty street bathed in the soft glow of the streetlights. I shrugged it off, chalking it up to my imagination playing tricks on me, and kept walking. But the footsteps didn't stop. If anything, they grew louder, closer, more insistent with each passing moment. I quickened my pace, my heart pounding in my chest, my breath coming in short, ragged gasps. I tried to tell myself it was nothing, that I was just being paranoid, but deep down, I knew something wasn't right. I glanced over my shoulder, hoping to catch a glimpse of whoever or whatever was following me. But all I saw was darkness, an impenetrable void that seemed to swallow up everything in its path. I shivered, a cold sweat breaking out across my brow as the feeling of being watched grew stronger with each passing second. I wanted to run, to scream for help, but something held me back. Fear, perhaps, or maybe just plain old-fashioned stubbornness. Whatever it was, I couldn't bring myself to give in to it, not yet, not until I knew for sure what I was dealing with. I reached my apartment building, my heart pounding in my chest, my hands trembling with adrenaline. I fumbled for my keys, my fingers slipping on the slick metal as the footsteps drew closer, closer, closer still. And then, just as I thought I couldn't take it anymore, the footsteps stopped. I froze, my breath catching in my throat as the silence closed in around me like a suffocating blanket. I stood there for what felt like an eternity, listening for any sign of movement, any hint of the presence that had been haunting me for so long. But there was nothing, just the quiet hum of the city at night, the distant sound of traffic, the gentle rustle of leaves in the breeze. I let out a shaky sigh of relief, my shoulders sagging with exhaustion as I realized that whatever had been following me was gone, vanished into the night without a trace. I pushed open the door to my apartment, stepping inside and closing it firmly behind me. I leaned against the wall, my legs trembling with exertion as I tried to catch my breath and calm my racing heart. And that's when I heard it, a soft, familiar sound, coming from somewhere deep within the shadows of my apartment. It was the sound of footsteps, slow and deliberate, echoing through the darkness with a sinister purpose. I froze, my blood turning to ice in my veins as the realization dawned on me. The footsteps weren't coming from outside, they were coming from inside, from somewhere within the confines of my own home. I wanted to scream, to run, to flee from the nightmare unfolding before me, but I was rooted to the spot, paralyzed with fear and uncertainty. I listened helplessly as the footsteps drew closer, closer, closer still, until they were right behind me, breathing down my neck with a hot, fetid breath that reeked of decay and despair. And then, just as I thought all hope was lost, a voice echoed through the darkness, a voice I recognized all too well. It was my own voice, whispering words of comfort and reassurance, banishing the darkness with its warm, soothing tones. I blinked, disoriented as the darkness receded, revealing the figure before me in all its grotesque glory. But it wasn't a stranger or a monster. It was me, or rather, a twisted mirror image of myself, staring back at me with eyes filled with fear and longing. I stumbled backward, my mind reeling with confusion and disbelief. How could this be happening? How could I be standing face to face with my own worst nightmare? And then it hit me. The truth, so obvious yet so impossible to accept. The stalker wasn't some deranged lunatic or vengeful spirit. It was me, or rather a part of me that I had long denied and suppressed. The part that thrived on fear and uncertainty. The part that reveled in the shadows and fed on the darkness. I tried to run, to escape from the monstrous reflection that haunted me, but it was no use. Wherever I went, it was always there, lurking just out of sight but never out of mind. And as the days turned into weeks and the weeks into months, I came to realize that I could never truly escape from the shadow behind me, for it was a part of me, and I was a part of it, bound together in an endless dance of fear and despair. So if you ever feel like someone's following you, remember this. Sometimes, the greatest horror of all is the one that lurks within.
I trudged down the dimly lit street, my footsteps echoing in the stillness of the night. The clock had just struck midnight as I finished my late-night shift at the diner. Exhaustion weighed heavy on my shoulders, and all I wanted was to get home and collapse into bed. But as I walked, a feeling of unease washed over me. It was like someone was watching me, following my every move from the shadows. I glanced nervously over my shoulder, but there was nobody there. Just empty streets and darkened storefronts. I quickened my pace, eager to shake off the feeling of being watched. But no matter how fast I walked, it seemed like the presence was always right behind me, lurking just out of sight. I tried to shake it off as paranoia, the result of too many late nights and too little sleep. But deep down, I knew there was something more to it. Something sinister. I turned down a side street, hoping to lose whoever, or whatever, was following me. But as I rounded the corner, I caught a glimpse of movement out of the corner of my eye. I froze, my heart pounding in my chest as I strained to see through the darkness. And that's when I saw it, a figure, lurking in the shadows just a few feet away. I couldn't make out any features, just a vague silhouette against the night. But I could feel its eyes on me, boring into my soul with an intensity that sent shivers down my spine.
Who's there?
I called out, my voice trembling with fear, but there was no response, only the sound of my own rapid heartbeat echoing in my ears.
Stay back.
I took a cautious step backwards, my eyes never leaving the figure before me. I warned, my voice wavering as adrenaline surged through my veins. But the figure didn't move. It just stood there, watching me with an unnerving stillness that sent a chill down my spine. I knew I had to get out of there, and fast. With a surge of courage, I turned and ran, my feet pounding against the pavement as I sprinted towards home. But no matter how fast I ran, it felt like the figure was right behind me, matching my pace step for step. I could hear its ragged breath on the back of my neck, feel its presence looming ever closer. I didn't dare look back, didn't dare acknowledge the terror that threatened to consume me. I just ran, fueled by fear and desperation, until I finally reached the safety of my front door. With trembling hands, I fumbled for my keys and unlocked the door, practically throwing myself inside before slamming it shut behind me. I leaned against the door, gasping for breath as adrenaline coursed through my veins. I waited in silence, listening for any sign of the figure outside. But there was nothing, only the quiet hum of the night. I sank to the floor, my heart still racing as I tried to catch my breath. Whatever, or whoever, had been following me was gone now, lost in the darkness of the night. But as I sat there in the safety of my home, I couldn't shake the feeling that it wasn't over. That whatever had been following me was still out there, waiting and watching, biding its time until it could strike again. And as I finally drifted off to sleep, I couldn't help but wonder if I would ever truly be safe again. If you're enjoying the spine-chilling narratives we bring to you, don't forget to show your support by smashing that like button. And if you haven't already, make sure to subscribe and ring that bell to stay updated on all things creepy and mysterious. We've got a lot more nightmares to share, and we want you along for the ride.